I've been asked about that. So I wanted to just take a brief moment. I'm going to try and make this as brief as I can before we really get into our text. But I think it's important because I have so many Protestants who watch this channel. What does that mean when you Catholics say you're praying for the repose of a soul? Aren't we saved or we're not saved? What do you mean by that? And anything I can do to try to smooth over or explain away misconceptions, because obviously there are differences between Catholic and Protestant doctrines. Sure, we're going to disagree on some things, absolutely. But what really grieves me is someone who was a Protestant and converted to Catholicism is just all of the misconceptions I had about Catholicism, and now that I see a lot of other Protestants have about Catholicism. And these are some things that a Protestant might say, how can you Catholics believe this? And here I am, a Catholic studying Catholic theology, thinking, we don't believe that. Where'd you get that? That's not a Catholic teaching at all. So a lot of people here, and I've been asked to, like my mother said to me, you Catholics think you can, and I explained it to her, but can pray people into heaven. Well, no, that's not what we mean at all when we say we pray for the repose of one's souls. Or you might hear somebody say, God, please accept into your presence the soul of so and so who recently passed, or whatever. What we're talking about is people who have been saved, right? Salvation is between a person and God. That's something they have to have accepted, the free gift of God's grace, the free gift of salvation. And then they have to have cooperated with that grace, lived in accordance with that grace, grow in that grace, which does mean bearing fruit, which does mean, gasp, good works. It's not a trigger word. It's in the Bible, faith and works. So they have to continue in that. And then in the, they're hopefully they're continuing in that in the moment of their passing and into salvation. So when we say we pray for the repose of a person's soul, we're assuming that person's already saved. Now, you might hear somebody say they're praying for the repose of a soul of a celebrity or something who was clearly not living in any godly manner, maybe didn't even have any profession or was even oppositional to faith or whatever. But we might still say the merciful thing to do is say we pray for the repose of that person's soul, because the Bible tells us we are not to judge. You don't know who was saved and who wasn't. And I don't mean like we don't know the inner thoughts of the person. We don't know what happens in their last moments. We don't know what happens in their secret moments. It's not for us to judge. We can judge works on earth, but we don't know what's happened between that person and God. That's an interiority thing, and that's Christ was very clear on that. Don't judge in that manner. So we will pray for the repose of anyone, regardless of whether they may or may not have been saved in that case. God will work out the merits. God knows what's what. But we do pray for the repose and for, wonderful saintly people like Al's mom. It's just, we do believe that we're saved and we're growing in grace and we're trying to become like Christ, right? We're wanting him to purify us. We're wanting him to make us more like him. And God has saved us. God covers our sin with Christ's atonement. We know that. And yet God cannot have communion. He cannot have intimate communion with sin. This is something God cannot abide. That's the whole reason for Christ's coming. So you can be on this earth, a saved Christian, and yet not be completely expunged of your sin. You're still working on it. You're still growing in grace, and yet you die, and you still have these attachments to inordinate attachments to worldly goods, concupiscence, sinfulness. You can't take all of that into the presence of God. Now, some Protestants who go this far or who've even thought this far believe, well, in the moment you die, you'll just magically be changed and suddenly you're not sinful anymore. Well, where is that in the Bible? What we do find in the Bible is Paul talking about in Corinthians, the where our works will be purified, our works will be tried by fire. And those works who are done on solid foundation in accordance with grace and whatnot will be purified by that fire, will be made, to shine like gold, like precious stones going through fire. But those works that weren't really, they were maybe for selfish reasons or whatever, will be burned up like wood, hay, or stubble. And that person will still be saved, but he'll be saved as one who escapes from fire. So that's their biblical basis for the doctrine of purgatory. So that we do believe that us saved individuals, when we die, and we don't know the details of purgatory. Mythologically, artistically, it's often painted as like a place of fire because of the metaphor that Paul's using there of fire, but it's not hell. It's not where you're punished at all. It's a place where your soul is cleaned up, where you finish your regeneration into holiness. We don't know the details of it at all. We don't teach details on it. The church doesn't. So it's but that's a regeneration point. So when we say we pray for the repose of someone's soul, we're just lending our prayers to that person in case they should still be in purgatory, in case that person is in purgatory, because again, we don't judge the soul. We don't know where they are in their walk, and we will lend our prayers to them. And that's again, biblical basis in the book of Maccabees, which we will get to. But That's a very quick, very three-penny tour of the concept, but I hope it's not gonna, obviously, that's none of that's gonna convince a Protestant of that, but I hope it just clarifies that we're not saying, "Oh, we can just pray anybody into heaven." Yeah, it's not like, Mormons baptizing themselves for the dead or something. No, 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 no. There's biblical basis behind it and all of that. Hopefully that at least dispels that misconception anyway. We can do a whole video about that, though.